I was shocked the other day when I looked up what some of the national averages were for a budget grocery amount, like an allotted grocery budget for the low end of a family of six. And they say that it's even more expensive when you have littles. I'm assuming just because of the diapers and whatnot. What's crazy is the low end was still over $1,000 per month for a family of six. And we feed our family of six $800 a month, sometimes less, sometimes a little bit more. But we do have kids that are still in pull ups and in diapers. We have three actually. One of them that uses them at night, one of them that uses them mostly at night, but occasionally has, car rides during the day where we need to put a pull up on if it's a long car ride. And we have a little baby who has diapers all the time. So that includes everything. And it's $800 a month, including laundry detergent and toilet paper and everything. I'm gonna walk you guys through what we do. It's a little complex to set up. It definitely took us a few weeks to get it all set up. But what's even better is we don't only eat off of $800 a month, we eat whole foods. We're eating anti-inflammatory foods. It is a very healthy, holistic diet. We are also gluten-free and dairy-free, which would blow some people's minds because they tell you that gluten-free foods are so much more expensive than regular foods. Here's the secret. They are, which is why you don't rely on products that are labeled gluten-free. There are so many more easy ways, like easy and holistic ways to eat in a budget, feed a big family. And I'm not growing a massive garden. I'm trying to grow a garden. If you follow me at all, you will see that I am trying to grow a garden, but I'm not really good at gardening. I still have a lot of learning to do. So we're not producing a ton of fruits and vegetables yet. We'll maybe get there. So let's get into it. And let me just start by explaining what this mess is. So we do most of our shopping at Walmart. Not because I'm in love with Walmart, but just because it's the cheapest. In your area, you may have some different options available. Now, recently, within the past 3 or 4 months, we started getting the option on our Walmart app to do subscription deliveries and get a discount for those subscriptions, delivery or pickup. And before, you could still subscribe to certain foods and whatnot. You couldn't necessarily, or at least we couldn't, we didn't have the option to get a discount with a subscription. Now, we do subscribe to Walmart Plus. We're getting it for, I think, like $40, $50 a year. I think normally it's like $99 a year, but they offered us, like we were quitting our annual membership the other year, last year, and they offered to have another year 50% off, so we said, why not? And then for some reason it stayed the following year, was also 50% off. But even if we were paying full price, $99 per year, I would consider that very worth it because we're literally saving $200 per month because of the way that this system works. So because of the subscription savings, when you have Walmart Plus, you can get up to 15% off of certain food items when you subscribe to them. Now, that's if you have an order, like a delivery order or a pickup order, that's $35 or more. When you're feeding a family of six, everything is $35 or more. So that's not an issue, right? So what we did is we went ahead and just set up our meal system and our eating system and our grocery system so that everything can get that 15% off, which means that we're getting 15% off of like all of our groceries. There's a couple things here and there. I think our butter that we get, it's the Smart Balance, I believe, the Smart Balance butter, which is a dairy-free butter option that I believe does not have that subscription percentage off. And occasionally you'll find something that does not have that percentage off, but like 98% of the stuff that we're purchasing does get that 15% discount. So the other thing that we did to make this even more amazing is we went ahead and got Walmart's credit card that they have. I don't remember exactly what it's called, but they have this credit card where if you're making purchases with that credit card, then you get an additional 5% off of all the purchases that are made at Walmart. So no brainer. We're getting the 5% off through that. We're also getting the 15% off with our subscriptions. So essentially we're getting 20% off of everything that we're buying each month. So if we order, if we have $1,000 worth of groceries in a month, we're getting that all for about $800. Really nice, right? And you can all correct me on my math in the comments if you need to, but you get the gist of it. It's a really good, solid discount, okay? So this is where it gets a little bit hard and a little bit complex. That's where this crazy sheet comes in, okay? I don't know if you can see it at all. And this is not even comprehensive. We're still kind of building it a little bit, but this is covering all of our needs right now. We're just sort of fleshing it out so we have a little bit more variety with our fruits and vegetables. I essentially went to ChatGPT. I did get my degree in dietetics, so I could do this manually. I could do it by hand, but why not use ChatGPT when it is 1,000 times quicker and I'm still going to get really good information? And I just asked ChatGPT to please create a list of different fruits and vegetables that are good for gut health, that are anti-inflammatory, and including foods from different food groups as well. So not just the fruits and vegetables, but the grains and the proteins as well. So we've got grains, veggies, fruits, proteins. I have an other category, a breakfast category, snacks, baking, and then we have our 72-hour kits that we're sort of working on creating right now. So, starting with the grains category, our grains are really, really simple because we do eat gluten-free. We will get gluten-free rice pastas or quinoa pastas. We have gluten-free bread that we get, and we'll get 3 a week. They're crazy expensive. This is probably the one expensive gluten-free product that we're purchasing on a regular basis. And the only reason we do it is because I cannot always be making homemade bread. And my daughter who goes to school, my 11-year-old, it is extremely easy for her to simply make sandwiches and take them to school every morning. And my husband as well. When he goes to work, a lot of times he'll make sandwiches. So the bread is mostly for them. And then we have 1 loaf for my younger kiddos who love having toast because it's delicious. And they like sandwiches too. And then our third grain that we have is rice. And sometimes, most of the time, we'll get just white jasmine rice because everybody loves it and needs it. I also like brown rice. I actually still have to add that to our subscription. We had a bunch of brown rice we just ran out of, so I'm going to have to add that to our subscription settings. And then I can grind some of that rice, both the white rice and the brown rice, because I have one of those KitchenAid grain mill attachments, and so I can grind some of that, turn it into flour. That reduces some of our flour cost when we're just purchasing gluten-free flours from Walmart. Those are our 3 grains. Simple. Bread, rice, pasta. And you can do the same thing if you do eat gluten. Bread, rice, pasta, pretty simple, right? And with the pasta, we have 1 box coming weekly. With the bread, I have it set up. It's really hard to see here. With the bread, I've got 3 a week. With the jasmine rice, we have 1 every 4 months. And then right here, I just listed when was the next date that we were going to get one of those. That's how I'm kind of keeping track of when each of the subscription deliveries is coming and how frequently they're coming. With the rice, I might need to adjust that because we've actually been going through rice pretty quickly, especially now that I'm starting to grind some of my own flour. So I might have to adjust that to 1 every month. That might be a lot more realistic for us. But at the same time, I just remembered we actually changed the size of the jasmine rice bag that we were getting to I think it was like a really, really big bag, like 20 pounds, 50 pounds. I don't know. It was a big bag. So that's probably why we have it 1 every 4 months right now, actually, now that I think about it. Before we had just a smaller, 2-pound bag. So then on veggies, I'm not going to go through every single one of these, but I want you to get a good feel for how we've set up this system and how we are organizing all of these subscription deliveries. They all come every Monday between 8 and 10, and they just show up on our doorstep. So we're literally we set this up and then forget it. And every single week we have a different set of vegetables that's coming and a slightly different set of grains, maybe mostly the same grains. With the proteins, we have slightly different proteins coming, but let's move on to veggies. So veggies, we've got, like I said, I went to the ChatGPT and just looked at all the different vegetables that it suggested for those requirements that I had given it. And I wanted to include a good variety of vegetables because we sometimes get into the habit of having the same vegetables every single week. And I've noticed that since we've started eating like this, that my husband and I have had just so much more energy. We've been having a lot more salads. On some weeks we're getting cucumbers and lettuce and spinach, and on the next week we're getting kale, and we're kind of trying to do different types of vegetables, but within similar categories. So, for example, with the leafy greens vegetables, like I said, we'll get lettuce one week, spinach and kale the next. Although we do try to keep lettuce up every week because it goes well on sandwiches and it's just a nice base for salads. And then, with a lot of the other fruits, like the green fruits, the cucumber, green pepper, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, green onions, broccoli, there's a lot of those green fruits or green vegetables, that we'll have a couple this week, and then we'll have a couple different ones the next week, and we're just setting them up on different dates and different rotations and different time frames. So broccoli, it says we get 2 every 2 weeks. Green pepper, we're getting 1 every 4 weeks. Frozen mixed vegetables, 1 every 4 weeks. Frozen pea and carrots, those are good with fried rice mixes when you're making fried rice at home. We'll get 1 every 2 weeks. So like I said, this was kind of complex to set up, but we just had to think about, okay, what weeks are these vegetables going to land on, and what weeks are these vegetables going to land on, and how can we start them and sync them so that they're arriving on different weeks and we're having sort of an evenly spaced amount of vegetables in each week, and that we've got that good variety. And like I said, we have felt so amazing eating this way, so much more energy. My acne has completely cleared up, and I cannot tell you how much of a miracle that is, because I have struggled with acne since my teens, off and on. I've tried Accutane, I've done topicals, I've done the antibiotics when I was younger. Literally everything in the book, I've tried it, and it has gotten so frustrating. And I have little tiny bits. I mean, you can kind of tell in the camera, right? But not literally everything cleared up. I had completely clear skin when we started eating just more of these leafy greens, and we had more variety with our fruits and vegetables, and we were really trying to push making sure that we were eating more fruits and vegetables with each of our meals. It did help, when you're sometimes sitting down and you're planning your grocery order, whether it's a pickup or a delivery, or you're just going in person. Sometimes you don't want to purchase those fruits and vegetables because they just don't always taste the best, right? They're not the most satiating, especially if you're sitting down hungry trying to plan this out. The things that you're going to be more drawn to are going to be the things like chips and breads and pastas and maybe even some of those proteins, maybe the bacon, some of the more greasy proteins, just because you're hungry, and that's the way our brains work, and that's okay, that's normal. But when we have this where it's a set and forget system, and my husband and I are very anti-waste when it comes to food, so we get the fresh fruits and vegetables, we're essentially forcing ourselves to use them. Now, I know that's not the case with everybody. I have seen plenty of refrigerators with fully rotting vegetable drawers in the fridge, and they're just moldy and nasty because stuff gets thrown in there and then we forget about it. I get it. I know. I've seen lots of those refrigerators. College, parents' house, in-laws' house, I get it, okay? And it does occasionally happen for us as well. But we keep our refrigerator relatively slim so that we can see everything. And we do make sure that we're checking things daily. And we're being very, very intentional about looking for fruits and vegetables to include in each of our meals, and that those things are getting used up every single week, which means that if we're getting a lot of vegetables, we are going to be eating a lot more vegetables. And we have been doing that and feeling amazing. So we're going to keep up with it. So I have this really big vegetable list. I actually had to continue it on the back because there's just so many different vegetables, and some of them onions and potatoes are kind of more staples that we'll get on a more regular basis and can just be thrown in to different things to add flavor or to add substance. We've got the same thing going for fruits. With fruits, we divided it up into categories like citrus fruits, and then, bananas and apples we put into a category. So we'll get bananas this week and apples this week, or I think it was apples and pears, that we put into a similar category. So apples this week, pears the next week. And then with the citrus fruits, we'll have the kiwi and oranges and mandarin oranges, and they come on different weeks. And then we've got, a few different random ones like lemons and limes that are better for flavoring and treats and that kind of thing. Now, our proteins, we get chicken breast every week, 1 or 2 of them, just depending on how much we need. And then occasionally, I think we have it set for once a month right now that we get some sort of pork. And then a couple times a month or once a month we get some sort of seafood, like salmon or seafood mix or catfish or shrimp. And we get eggs every single week. Oh, and chicken nuggets. There are some gluten-free chicken nuggets that Walmart has right now that are relatively tasty and not crazy expensive. So we do get those occasionally as well, once every 2 weeks. Just an easy meal for the kids. And then I'm not a huge fan of like canned chicken breast, but we do have that very, like very occasionally. Because again, I'm a mom. We know that life gets crazy busy, so we want to make sure we do have some foods on hand that are good backups, that are relatively healthy proteins and grains and snacks and whatnot that we can prepare when we have just a crazy hectic day. And then the other list is all the, like condiments and I think spices are under there. We've got all the baking stuff, flours, sugars, chocolate chips, because you need chocolate chips. Even though the dairy-free chocolate chips are like a fortune, so that's a rare treat. Snacks, we have these Doritos that I know are not the healthiest thing on the planet, but there's like one type of Dorito that we're aware of that we're actually able to eat that's actually dairy-free, and it's those spicy chili, they're in a purple bag, but they're dairy-free and they're delicious, and we're kind of addicted to them right now. That's kind of our one guilty pleasure right now. Then we'll occasionally get these gluten-free graham crackers, and I have those scheduled to come with a bag of marshmallows because every now and then we gotta have a fun little s'mores roasting party, right? We've got Kind bars, popcorners, marshmallows. Oh yeah, I said that. Popcorn, we're in love with popcorn. Crackers, okay, not all like crazy healthy, but also not bad for you. I'm not a fan of calling foods good and bad because I think most foods can be enjoyed in moderation. Obviously, there's some things that you just want to avoid that are going to hurt your body. Most of the time, most foods are not going to do that. If you're eating them just every now and then, it's okay for you to enjoy something. I love chocolate, okay? That's like my number one guilty pleasure. And I eat chocolate, and it's delicious. And I like dark chocolate, and I also like not dark chocolate. So it's all good stuff. We've got maple syrup on here because that's delicious. We also included stuff like, the sandwich bags and deodorant, shampoo, toilet paper, Lysol wipes, all that good stuff. As you can see, it's a little bit complex to set up, and it wouldn't be something where I could just like send you my list and you copy it. I guess technically you could, but it's going to be extremely dependent on what your family eats. Because if I gave you mine and you tried to copy it, then you're going to end up with a bunch of stuff showing up on your doorstep that you may not enjoy. So what I would do, this is what I had to do. Like I said, complicated, little time consuming at first, but I want you to remember that once you set this up, this is going to save you hours and so much decision fatigue every single week, because you do not have to choose your groceries. You don't have to make your grocery list. You don't have to do your grocery plan. Like, you don't have to go buy the groceries every single week. It literally shows up on your doorstep. Everything's set it and forget it. You're getting the 15 to 20% off if you're also doing the credit card. Like, literally, this is saving us so much time, and we're eating so much healthier, which is amazing. But what I would do is just take a sheet of paper, get a big old sheet of paper if you have to, and just start writing down everything your family purchases. The first time you're setting up these subscriptions, you're gonna miss a bunch of stuff. Like, you're gonna run out of cumin or paprika a month down the road, and you're gonna have to add that into your subscriptions. And it's okay, not the end of the world, right? This is something, like I said, we've been building for weeks and weeks, and we will continue to build it as we run out of things. Totally okay. But for now, just write down everything you can think of, at least the main staples that you're going to need on a regular basis. Grains, vegetables, fruits, proteins, baking stuff, breakfast stuff, snacks, whatever. Write it all down and then sort of map it out. If you have to, get a calendar and map it out, like, okay, this week I want these things to come. And like, if I'm getting green beans, they're going to come on this week and they're going to come on this week. And if I'm getting salad, they're going to come on this week and this week. And you just got to play with it. You just got to work with it. Okay. It's not going to be perfect, but oh my word, you are going to save so much time and so much energy. Now, the other big question is, okay, Like, how do you actually do the meal and recipe planning? For those of you who really love planning out specific recipes that you want to make every single week, obviously this isn't going to work. It's not going to fit in with that kind of a system. Now, the reason why this works really well for me is because I actually hate following recipes. For me, it takes so much more time, so much more energy, because I am having to sit there and first read the recipe, and then I have to get out all my measuring spoons and measuring cups, and I have to make sure that everything's done in the right proportions. And whoo, man, for me, that is like so much effort when there's a bunch of recipes that I already know how to make in my brain, and I know how basic ingredients work together. I'm not a crazy culinary expert, but I do know how to cook. So it's extremely easy for me to take the stuff that we already have in the fridge and combine it into a meal. We keep it really simple. We make sure that we have a protein, we have a grain, and some sort of fruit or vegetable, or both, that are going into our meal. So we might make grilled chicken and have it on a salad and have some rice on the side. Not crazy complex, super simple. Anyone can do it. That is how we prepare our meals. So we're not doing all this crazy meal planning, but we are making sure that we are using all of the stuff that we are receiving in each of our grocery order deliveries. Wow. I hope that is helpful for you guys. That is how we do it. That's how we eat really healthy, how we're eating gluten and dairy free, and we're doing all of this for a family of 6 in less than $800. If you have any questions or you are needing any sort of like follow-up explanations or follow-up videos, just let me know down in the comments, and I will see you guys later.